twinkling.
Made into one.
You're twinkling.
Ready, Martha? We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order Monday, October the 12th. And this time, please stand for pledge of allegiance and remain standing from moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence, please. Thank you. You may be seated. We have one minor change on the agenda, and that would be under general business for action. And that would be number 7, be the fire contract for Cherry Lane. Need a motion and a second to approve that change.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Motion carries. Now it's time for public comments. Has anybody signed up or anybody like to say anything? Nobody? Okay, at this point, then I'll go ahead and close public comments. Thank you. First off, we have a public hearing and a vote for Alleghany Emotions Fiscal Year 2026 Community Transportation Grant. I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Go ahead and tell us all about it.
Good morning. So I'm here today because there's 3 grants. I did change a little on the capital grant from the last time. I rounded up numbers to match our grant. I'm not used to having to round them up, so that is the only difference on them. But our 5311 administrative grant covers 2.5 full-time salaries, the fringe benefits, the marketing, the postage, electric, and copier expenses. The grant was $120,570, which we have an 85% state and federal match and a 15% local match.
Anything else to add?
On that one, no.
Go ahead.
So
Any questions? Anybody, any comments? Any questions from the board? With that being said, I'll go ahead and close the public comments. And we would need to, at this point, have a vote on that section. Got a motion and a second.
Make a motion to accept the first 5311 CTP administration grant.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed likewise? Motion carries 4-0. I would like to mention that John's not here today. I think he had to go to the hospital, get some tests or some checkups done on him. We wish him well. Go ahead.
our second grant is the capital grant. It has 1 replacement conversion van with the van logos to put on it and to replace one of our laptops.
Questions? Go ahead.
That's all for that one.
We need to vote on that one separately.
Go on.
We need a separate vote on these two.
Make a motion to approve the capital grant.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 4-0. Next, go ahead.
The last one is our 5310 Elderly and Disabled Operating Grant. And this is the one where it's the dollar per stop. This grant will not change from last year either.
Same as last
Same
year.
as last year.
Any questions? Need a motion and a second on this one.
Motion to approve 5310 elderly and disabled operating grant.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Danielle, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 4-0.
And I did put some, what do they call? Title VI surveys in the back if anybody wants to fill one of
Okay,
those out.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Moving right along to section B, the consent agenda. We've all had a chance to look at our packets for a few days. Any questions? No, we need a motion, a second to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Presentation to the board. The weather update from Mr. Daniel Roden.
Morning.
Good morning.
Make sure I've got this where I'm not blowing the mic out. So since the last time I've come and talked to you guys, obviously I mentioned we had stopped our operations, that we were into recovery mode. But I did also mention that we were seeking a place to store some of the materials that I had acquired, throughout the event. So since that, with the help of Danielle, we were able to procure a place to put those MREs in water. So we will have those for the foreseeable future. I had also mentioned that we were seeking a place to locate our disaster recovery center. That place has now been established at the BDC in the conference room. They're using the conference room and the atrium. It's right there behind the front desk. They actually opened up Saturday at 1:00. I don't have a count on how many people have come in so far, but I do know there have been several. So their operating schedule is daily from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. And they're
8 till 7.
correct. And the function of that group is to be there to assist locals with their application processes for grants or SBA loans or whatever it is they're there to seek. They'll help them answer questions. They'll help them do the applications. They'll do whatever is needed. So it's important for the public to know if you have questions or issues with your application, that's where you need to go, is to the BDC. Also worth noting, end of last week and then through this week, FEMA actually has people on the ground in the county going door to door. And what they're doing basically is knocking on the door, asking folks if they have unmet needs. Do you have some damage you'd like to apply for some reimbursement for? Whatever they can do to help encourage people to get the assistance that they need. I know they've been focusing on the western end of the county because it seemed like that was where the bulk of our damage was at. That doesn't mean they won't go other places. That's just kind of where I directed them to first. I don't know for how long they'll be here doing that, the door-to-door stuff, but for the next little bit. I met with a liaison from the Army Corps of Engineers in my office Friday afternoon. They have offered their services to help with debris removal, pending approval by the state. So this morning I submitted a request to the state for their assistance to come in. Their primary focus would be right-of-way debris removal. The local DOT guys are thrilled that they might get some help picking up all the crap off of the right-of-ways. But then I've also submitted a request for them to do private property debris removal. We'll see where it goes. But my main concern with that was the waterways. You can imagine what's on the riverbanks. There's one house up in Alleghany that even has a piece of the Garvey Bridge as his new deck. I don't think he wants a bridge in his yard, but how do you move that? So stuff like that's kind of what we're looking towards. And then the last update I really kind of had for you guys for now, I've also submitted a request for public assistance for government things, and that's for us. Damages that we might have incurred to any of our property. And then we'll roll the fire departments and rescue squad kind of under the emergency management umbrella. So the time they were out burning fuel, breaking chainsaws, doing whatever they were doing, buying food, we can kind of roll all that into one big package and submit that to FEMA for reimbursement. That's a long process and it'll take a while. And in the past, what we've done was roll it up under the emergency management umbrella. Then once it's approved, it comes to me. I go to April or finance. We do a budget amendment so we can then distribute that money back to the fire departments. So that's what's coming as far as that goes. So as of today, that's my update for the weather system. Again, we were very fortunate that we didn't have the impacts that some of the other places did, and we're already into recovery mode and trying to find a new normal now. So pending any questions from you guys.
And is there any questions on the board? When you roll all these different agencies in about chainsaws, fuel, that they would cut one check for the government, then you would disperse it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd come to you guys as a budget amendment, once it's all done. Because then we have to put that money somewhere so that we can write checks out of it.
And it's dispersed out by how the sections have requested.
That's right. And I help the fire departments keep track of all that paperwork so that if they submit, say they submit $3,000 worth of claims, then we'll get them that money, whatever FEMA approves for them.
And I guess with the county employees that, we had tree removal, we've got damage, different places.
Sure.
That's all in that same package.
It will all be in one big package. So a portion of that'll be whatever the fire departments and rescue squad is, and a portion of it will remain with the county. Now, I will say of note, normal time that my normal 40 hours a week, David Spicer's normal 40 hours a week is not eligible for reimbursement, but our overtime is. So.
Any other questions on the board? Michael?
I don't have any questions. I just want to tap Daniel in a positive way. A lot of times I tap him other ways. But every day since this event, he's been in our office. He's gave us information. He and Danielle worked together. And I even think, Michelle, you had some involvement in areas to store these materials in. I give him a lot of flack, but that guy right there has took care of us. He's took care of you during an earthquake. He's took care of you during a flood. Let's hope it's done. But I don't have any concerns or worries when Daniel's on the job. He's doing what he's supposed to do.
If we keep having these kind of events, I don't know how much longer I'm going to make it on the job.
I could just get him to grow his beard a little longer. He'd be all right.
Well, I don't know what other disasters we can have in this county that we haven't already had.
Don't say
Don't
that.
There you go.
I've already warned you what was.
But you can take care of all of them,
Well,
I'm sure.
I want to look out for the people of the county.
Thank you. Anything else? Appreciate it. Next up is weather event information from Farm Service Agency. And Julia, you're up.
All right. So for y'all that do not know me, I'm Julia Hout. I'm the county.
Pull that down just a little.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Most time I speak loud enough. So I'm Julia Halcomb with the Farm Service Agency. I'm the director for not only Alleghany, but I have Ash, Watauga, Avery, and Wilkes. So with that being said, our state office contacted Washington and went ahead and did our emergency conservation program They went ahead, did a blanket, so all the counties are in that. With that, we can come in and we can help with cost share on debris removal, fencing damages, either to repair or replace, and for grading, shaping, and releveling. So all the debris along the river where you have farmers have, fencing along the river, we can help you get all of that wadded up, something done with it, and your new put back in place. If you just need to repair, we can do that, cutting trees off of the fences and things like that. All of that falls under the Emergency Conservation Program. Then for our forestry people, because we do have people who manage their forest for timber production, so the Emergency Forest Restoration Program, that is also running now. Both of those programs, June 1 of 2025. So instead of having a 45-day sign up like we normally would because of the magnitude, farmers have until June 1 of 25 to sign up. So that's those two programs. Then if producers lost livestock due to they got washed away, I've had some, that have sent me pictures where the trees fell on livestock. When it starts getting like this, they're going to go to higher ground. Then we had the winds. So we can help replace those animals that were lost due to that. You still have to meet normal mortality. And that depends on the weight range of the livestock, what the livestock are. We have the Emergency Livestock Assistance Program. Under that, we can pay for our commercial honeybee producers. Did you lose bees? Did you lose bees and hives? So either one of those can qualify you, whether you lost your bees and or the hive went with it also. We also can pay for hauling water, because with Soil and Water and NRCS through the years, we've fenced out worlds of creeks and streams around here. So without power, people were having to either one, cut the fence, let the livestock back to the creek, or we were having to haul water. So we will pay for the gallons of water hauled, and on the gallons of water hauled, the first 25 miles is not eligible. So if you're basically going where you would normally travel, we can't reimburse your mileage, but we can reimburse you for those gallons of water that you hauled to your livestock. For our producers who lost hay, whether that was hay that was washed away, because there was worlds of that went down the river. I'm sure somewhere in West Virginia they may be pulling those out, but so we can pay for the hay that was washed away, hay that was underwater for more than 4 to 6 hours. They are saying you should not feed that hay because of the potential for the mole and the other organisms that could have gathered in that hay. So there's been a couple of things going on. There's been a lot of donated hay that's been going out through Extension Service. If you still need hay, they need to contact Extension Service. But we can also pay, as long as the hay was harvested and in your possession, we can help pay to reimburse you for that hay loss. For our producers who had the Non-Insurable Assistance Program, or the NAP program, that's insurance on your around here it's hay, grazing, pumpkins, most of your vegetable crops, and we do have some nursery stock stuff that is covered. Those producers have been contacted. We need their production, whether or not they're going to be able to carry anything else to production, because anything that was under floodwater is no longer eligible to be sold for consumption, because you don't know what was in that floodwater. So Amanda Poe has been reaching out to those. She's the lady that handles that for Alleghany County. She's been handling, talking to those producers individually, getting their information so that we can get them their payment. And then the other thing we have is the Emergency Loan Program. Because it was a presidential declaration, the emergency loan kicked in, and those are loans that are, the percentage rate on those right now are 3.75%. Those are fixed interest rates. I personally do not deal with those, so if someone is interested in an emergency loan, they can call the office. We still have our Alleghany number. That's 372-5590. Let me give you that again, 372-5590. Or the ASH number is 246-8875. We are extension 2, so if you'll take a 2 and press the pound sign of all things, it'll move on in to the number and you don't have that big long pause right there. But Amelia Shoup is who covers our office. Amelia lives over in Spruce Pine, so she's working some and plus trying to get herself and her properties back together. That's it as far as the Farm Service Agency. So do y'all have questions? And I've got one other thing.
Questions? Go ahead.
So,
Amy. I've got a few that
okay, not a problem.
some farmers have asked me about. First off, people that did a temporary fix on their fences versus doing a permanent fix. Those are two different fixes.
Right.
Will both of those be covered?
So we can do that. We can do repair, which is immediate to get everything repaired, and then replace. And when we say replace, we're not talking about one strand of electric. It has to be to like the NRCS technical guide. So that means like a 5-strand barbed wire fence. Or if you're doing high tensile, it needs to be 5-strand, 3 hot, 2 cold, so that you've got your grounds. So yeah, we can do that. But when they sign up, they just need to let us know, hey, I've temporarily patched. So we'll pay for that material. And then we're going to replace, because there's a lot of fence that's going to have to be it's gone. It's gone.
Okay, the next one is what the process. They call your office to get on a waiting list, I believe.
So yes, make an appointment, because of the magnitude. That's about the only way we're going to be able to handle it. The other thing is for Alleghany producers, you're not going to have to go to ASH. What we're doing is Amanda Poe is going to be over here by appointment only, so many days a week. She will be in the office with Soil and Water. So we're waiting on the portable printers to come in. And as soon as we get those portable printers, that way, she can print everything out right there and sign it. And you can have all your stuff done here. You'll just need to call the office and make an appointment with Amanda.
Call the ASH office?
Yeah, or the 372-5590. That's the number that was here when I was here in the early 90s. And we maintained that number, so it transfers straight over to the office over there and we can pick it up.
So they'll call that number, make an appointment, and then come to 90 South Main.
Yeah, 920. Isn't that what is it? 920? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking it was a 3-digit, but yeah, it's just right there off of the intersection. So yeah, that's what they can do. And she'll be back there. You know where David Tucker's office kind of is tucked in the back? That's the space she'll be using.
And when will she be here?
She will make the appointments. So it'll be just a couple of days a week, because what we're trying to do with the magnitude of everything, we'll put temporary people over in Avery, steal some in Ash, but also go out to the hard-hit northwest corner of Ash. Then we'll have the people in Wilkes. As soon as the people in Wilkes gets through signing people up, I'll pull one of them out, because there's only 6 of us covering 5 counties. So that kind of puts a strain on our personnel.
How long is the process to see if they will qualify? Will they be able to tell them when they fill out the application if they qualify or if you don't?
If you've had a loss, you qualify. Okay. The thing is under the ECP program, is that something that you could not repair yourself out of pocket? And so they have set that is it going to cost you more than $2,000 out of pocket? If it's more than $2,000 out of pocket, there's not a problem. If it's going to cost you, say, $2,000, but you are limited resource, socially disadvantaged, beginning farmer, there's some things there that would allow you to still qualify for those payments.
Is 2,000 like a deductible sort of, or?
Yeah, it's just, so when Congress or the agency wrote the program, they're saying it's not an entitlement program. It is for a true disaster. So they set the bare minimum of 2,000 out of pocket.
Okay.
So I guess in a way you could look at it as a deductible.
Next, how is the labor figured? Is the farmer's labor figured versus hiring somebody to do the project?
So we cannot pay the farmer for his labor, but we can pay for hired labor if he uses his tractor, his backhoe, his equipment. We need hours, horsepower of the kind of equipment that you're using, and keep up with all of your expenses. That's the other thing we've been telling everybody. I don't care if it's right down to the 2-in-1 oil that you're going to use in the gas mix. Keep up with all of those expenses. Wire clips for your T-posts, steeples, whatever you're purchasing, keep up with those receipts.
Okay, so the farmer's labor is not included, but his equipment that he uses is included.
Correct.
Okay.
He can use his own equipment. We just can't pay for him for using that equipment.
Let's see, the next one, if the farmer was previously enrolled in the government with David Tucker or whatever, fencing off the stream banks, what about the water crossings that were washed out? Is that part of this?
Yes, you can still apply. And if you had gotten cost share through NRCS, David Tucker, or Soil and Water, and that fence is over 1 year old, they have told us we can go back and replace that. You know, like if you had fenced out the Little River and it's not been 2 years and your contract is actually a 10-year contract. So if you lost that fence because it's more than 1 year old, we can help you put that fence back.
What if that contract is up?
If that contract's up, it doesn't matter. Just, we can do whatever. It's just like you didn't get cost share on it. The only stipulation is if you just installed that in 2023, then we're not going to technically be able to go back and help you in 24 to replace something that's just 1 year old.
Hey, I think you covered the one about the debris and stuff, you know, it's out in the fields. And what about trees that have fallen down in the creeks that were washed, you know, the banks washed away and the trees, or do
You have strainers in your creek, in other words. So NRCS is working on the Emergency Watershed Restoration Program, but it takes a while for that to get implemented, and it's a cost share. They have to find an agency that's willing to put up the other 25%, and then they can start the stream bank restoration and the watershed, getting that cleared out. So that will be a David Tucker. I can give you about that much information on it.
And I think one of the main questions is, once they fill out all the paperwork and obviously, I think everybody said take pictures of what
Yes.
happened. And what's the time period that that the farmer can expect to see a check from the government?
Okay, as soon as they are done, completed. So you come in, you sign up. I take it to the county committee, which is farmer elected. So there's 5. Your 2 representatives from Alleghany is Alvin Dixon over in Piney Creek and Bobby Evans up, what is that, Pleasant Home Church Road or whatever it is.
Hey,
And then the county committee advisor is Miss Shirley Hall down from Laurel Springs.
So that's the people who cover here. So I take that to the county committee approves it. Once it's approved, and we meet once a month. So once that's approved and you have finished, then we can start getting the money back in your hand.
Okay,
So it's really not a long stretch of time unless you just have a lot to get done. The other thing is they have said when you apply, we can give you a 25% up front to help you pay for some of this till you can get it done.
okay. Any other questions from the board? Mr. Carter?
I got one other thing.
Go ahead.
So Jason Long, his number is 336 301 4305. If farmers are needing supplies, they can contact him. There has been a nonprofit that has stepped up here in Alleghany County. And if you are an Alleghany County farmer and you need fencing supplies, Jason will purchase those and get those to you. So that will help offset some of that cost. But they just need to speak with Jason about that. Jason contacted me, said, this is what I have available for the Alleghany farmers. I said, you mind if I tell that to the commissioners this morning? He said, no, go ahead. So if they need Jason, just probably text him. That's the way I've been getting a hold of him. I just been texting him. So if there's a farmer that needs help and needs money like now to purchase the supplies, Jason can purchase those and you can still turn that stuff in because you still had the damage. We'll figure something out.
And once again, the time period that they've got is up till 2025?
Correct. June 1. Normally is a 45-day sign-up period for the ECP, the Emergency Conservation Program, and the Emergency Forest Restoration Program. I have to look at that one. Normally it's a 45-day period, but because of the magnitude, whenever they approve this, they said due to the magnitude of it and the number of states involved, we're just going to run it through June 1 of 2025. So it started October 15th and runs through June 1. So call, make an appointment. Like I say, there's 6 people covering 5 counties.
Okay. Anything else? Appreciate your time coming down here.
Well, you're more than welcome. If y'all need something, by all means, holler, email, just holler at me and let me know.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a good day.
You too. Moving right along to item number 3, financial update. Robin, where are you? There you are.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. I do have the finance report. The year-to-date revenue is $11,160,560.78. And this is about 52% of our revenue for the budget year. The year-to-date expenditures are $6,416,798.71. And the expenditures represent about 30% for this budget year. The approved budget is $21,407,775. And we're about 29% into the budget year. The bank balance as of this morning, the check-in was $7,528,000. $7,528,000, 308.26 cents. The savings is $18,602,735.82. I also have the sales tax for July and August. The sales tax for July is $132,989.85. The quarter% for July was $37,888.86. $616.85. The sales tax for August was $124,497.11, and the 1/4% was $34,559.37. Also, in your package, you'll see last year's for you to have a comparison. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? I think it's another good report.
Thank you.
Mr. Carter, any comments?
Just doing the quick math. If you look at your bank balance difference between 23 and 24, there's another $2.4 million added to it. So not bad.
Very good, then. Thank you. Moving right along, facilities update, David Spicer.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Board.
Morning,
Thank you for this opportunity. In the last month, we've put up some new lights on our administration building to light up this lower parking lot a little better. Now we have light over the entire parking lot, so that's a positive thing. 90 South Main, that was one of the few places there in the fairgrounds, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But 90 South Main had a couple of pieces of metal that blew off of the corner. So Martin Roofing is on that. They're making those pieces to put back up. So those repairs should be made periodically. Hopefully this week they'll have that completed. At the courthouse, they're still working on the schedules. There's some things that has been some delays, especially with the boilers, with the heating system, and the windows have been delayed. We're working on that. Mr. Carter and I have both had conversations with the architect about that schedule and making sure that it stays on track. So certainly that's something we're staying on top of. At the fairgrounds, we did have some trees that come down during the storm. We've been taking care of those as time permitted. There was nothing that was damaged by the trees falling, only some hindrances, I guess you'd say. So we're working towards getting those cleaned up. We will begin probably next week in winterizing the fairgrounds as far as the concession stand goes. So we'll winterize that, and we'll also winterize the Lions Club next week. At the transfer facility, we're still working with TRC. They're coming up with the plans. We're working through some things, so it's almost complete, I think. So we'll look to have some plans for the transfer facility, hopefully within the next 3 weeks. So we'll see where that takes us. We did haul some commingle. There was 3.81 tons. There was 2 loads of cardboard at 10.11 tons. We had 2 loads of scrap metal at 9.77 tons that yielded the county $1,969.20. So with the animal control, Mickey and Kenny went last week to some schooling. So we're still staying on top of the training for animal control. So they're back to work now, and all that's hopefully encouraging and hopefully helps everything. So our calls for that, we've assisted the sheriff's department 7 times. We had 1 well check. We had 5 dogs and or cats picked up. We had 11 running at large, which one of those was a pig, so that's a little bit different. We had 1 that was a bite. It was quarantined. They was able to show us their shot record, so they would be able to be quarantined at home. They had 12 traps set, which part of those 11 animals that was picked up was part of that 12 that was trapped. So we had 50 hours, which is down considerably, 37 calls, and 312 miles traveled. And I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
Any questions for David?
Just a couple comments. So everyone knows that David provides multiple roles here in the county. To my understanding, you just got back off an ambulance call.
Yes, sir. We've flying one out from there.
So it's important to remember that the fella standing at that podium's got a lot of things on him right now. One thing, David, I don't know if you saw it, but I did see an email over the weekend to Andy from the Jason Watkins with the Division of Waste Management. And basically what it is the landfill, the closed landfill has been approved for a debris site. So
Yes.
that's an important thing that we're working through as well. And just to kind of capitalize on one thing you mentioned with the courthouse, and I know Travis has been involved in it, April and Danielle, myself and David. That thing was originally set up to be a 210-day project. I told you all that back when we started. With these material delays, last week we learned that it's likely going to be mid-March before that project's complete. That's longer than 210 days. 210 days is supposed to run out about the end of November. So you got about a 4-month delay, basically, on some of the materials. I don't like delays. I sent a rather interesting email to the architect encouraging them to do what they could to speed that process up. But I just want you to know that right now you're about 4 months behind on the completion of that courthouse project. So that's all I have.
I have one question for you. At the Veterans Park, the
Yes, sir.
bridge going across the creek, when the storm hit, it washed out that far end pretty bad. Has that been repaired yet?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I just noticed
That- That's been filled in.
yeah,
Yeah.
on Sundays, there's a tremendous amount of people who use that Veterans Park. I just want to be sure they could get up there okay.
Yeah. As soon as we learned about it, we got right on that.
Any other questions? Yeah, Timmy.
We still waiting on the new loader at the, are we still waiting on that, or is it here? Or?
No, we're still waiting. We're still waiting on a bid slot or a build slot. They assure me that they're trying to push it forward. But as of right now, we do not have a time that it will begin construct, or they will begin building that. So
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, David.
thank you.
Item number 5, TDA, Steve Mason.
Good morning.
Morning.
Just in your packet that you received, just to go over real quick, not to take up too much time, but just to share with kind of the first quarter as it relates to the TDA. Collections for the first quarter were $79,411.20, which is in comparison to last year, same time period, was $62,863. So that's a $16,547 difference to the good, to the positive. So we've collected more funds during that time period, but I would just take a step back and say in that next sentence that's in that overview, because of the hurricane, what we've experienced in the western part of the state could affect going into the second quarter and possibly even further, depending on how that is utilized, how those facilities are utilized, Airbnbs and VRBOs and the hotel here in town. But I would say that in addition, with the Parkway closed, that puts a pretty good damper on the fall leaves and the folks coming up into the area. But what we try to do is take an approach from the board standpoint and with the chamber to look at how we can be effective in supporting what's going on right now in the recovery environment, and also be able to support what we can as far as tourism over the next few months. So that would kind of reflect, and we'll touch on it on our last page on this packet, but we'll get to in just a minute. But just wanted to share that piece. So we're just trying to be as effective as we can, but be sensitive to what's going on. The other thing that would touch on just briefly would be that we've got a reestablished fund balance of $201,000 that has been estimated and is currently in audit right now with the auditors. And we'll have a more finalized number there soon. When you go down to Exhibit A, which is actually our fund balance sheet, that gives you a breakdown of what we've incurred in what we've got in revenue, what we've incurred in expenses of $81,616, which you can see we've taken in a little less revenue than we have expensed out so far. And we have outstanding grants and other expenses of $72,000, which we're in the process of playing some catch up a little bit in relationship to the next couple months, but we should be very solid by the time we get to the first of the year and get through the second quarter. And then also you've got the long range plan funds that are down there that are still intact of $175,000. So, and then going to Exhibit B is just a support for the revenue this year versus last year in the first quarter. And then Exhibit B or C, excuse me, would be your expenses. And that's a total of expenses during the first quarter. That's the extent of all our expenses that we've incurred. And then the last section on there, Exhibit D, is the grants and marketing impact that we've experienced during the first quarter that we've issued, and the amounts. In respect to that as well, that's the last page that we talked about just a minute ago. In an effort to support marketing and marketing efforts for tourism over the next few months, this is a list of things that the chamber has partnered with the TDA on in trying to make sure that we're addressing these areas to make sure that we're getting the word out there, that our doors are open, and we're trying to be very sensitive to the storm recovery, but at the same time, tourism is an important part of what we do. So that's the extent of the
Any questions for Steve? It was very understandable, good report.
Good. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, that concludes our presentations to the board. Next is Section D, General Business. This section's for information and the Alleghany opioid settlement updates. I believe it's Jen Green. Step forward, please.
Thanks for having me today. I want to say I really appreciate the pink that you all are wearing. I'm a breast cancer survivor, and so I really I appreciate that. We are here to talk about the opioid settlement. It's been a while since we've discussed. I want to say thank you to Danielle for getting all of the documents organized. And if you go to the next slide, we decided this time to do some additional community meetings to talk about what we want to focus on. As you all know, there are certain projects that are part of the state opioid settlement plan that are supported. And so we put out a grant proposal that we talked to you all about. We did receive 4 grants, and we have a total of $259,875 that are currently part of the opioid settlement funds. So this is not part of your other budget, but part of your opioid settlement budget that is awarded to Alleghany County. So if you go to the next slide, we've kept this pretty brief, but I'm happy to answer questions. We really have 3 focus areas. First, our sheriff's office. One of the most important groups that we know struggle with substance use are those who are justice involved. So our sheriff's office has really taken a leadership role in trying to figure out where they fit in all of this. And what their proposal includes is increasing nurse hours and focus on implementing medication-assisted treatment for folks who are interested in the jail setting. This would allow us to see another way to get people introduced to medication-assisted treatment. And then, of course, as they leave jail, one of the most important parts is going to be building a bridge back to other treatment options in the community. App Healthcare does have this ability to be able to prescribe medication-assisted treatment and offer counseling support for this. So this is the first project, and the total budget proposed is $108,550. The second project is to continue supporting App Healthcare. That is primarily to continue with the matching funds grant that you all agreed to for 3 years through Vital Strategies. That's going to also help continue supporting harm reduction. So we are doing naloxone or Narcan. We're actually setting up, hopefully, a vending machine at the hospital emergency department, and we'll be working to stock that through these funds. We'll also be continuing with collaborative planning and collecting data so that you can tell the story about what's actually happening in the community. And then the third project is for Alleghany Emergency Medical Services, or EMS. The focus is really to help reach people in the field. It's to help purchase another emergency response vehicle, and the focus being on, again, medication-assisted treatment in the field and linkage to care. So we really see all of these kind of working together to help build a system of care for Alleghany citizens. And these are all approved focus areas in the state memorandum of agreement. So what we have for you is these are the 3 grants. We have copies of all of the grants, and I believe if you go to the next, I think that might be all. Yeah, the next slide, really the focus is all of the documents that follow for your consideration. And we will be continuing to do more strategic planning. One of the things that's required by the state project is if you want to do more prevention focused work, so things that might be more focused on youth prevention and education and outreach, it really requires doing collaborative strategic planning first to open up more strategies. So we're going to continue that process so that as we go forward, if the county decides they want to invest in some other projects, they'll be able to do that. Yeah, I think that's all I had for this part. There are a couple of other documents, and Heather, we used the template that we used the last time. So they're pretty lengthy, but they're based on the state template that is the memorandum of agreement for your consideration. One of the requirements of the opioid settlement is to have you all as a board of commissioners basically adopt this memorandum every time you spend money out of these funds.
Some questions? I'm just looking at the first request. I'm not sure that, have we talked about this before with the sheriff's department? Or with
I believe
for
Shane's
the
here
jail?
if we have questions for him. But
What was the question?
I was just trying to understand, I think right now the nurse from the hospital, or one of the nurses comes for
Southern Health Partners.
12 hours.
hmm
And we're looking at expanding that for
To
either two
24.
nurses or 24 hours. or
That's
whatever.
correct. So to help out with this MAP program, I mean, it's going to take nursing hours, but it also alleviates some of that stress off the county, because in the future, we're going to need more nursing hours with the amount of inmates and offenders that we're holding. 12's just not cut.
I guess unfortunately, this last year I had the privilege of having to go to the hospital with my wife. And we talked about this with some of the nurses there. And they said that there was a great need, they thought, for the jail system, the sheriff's office, jail system, to have this. And I think
I
that's
agree.
what-
We've met 5 or 6 times, countless emails, and I think we found a plan that that I feel good about, and I think they do as
which
well.
is most important, but it's also a sustainable plan. I think it's something you can build on.
We had issues to make sure that it was not a narcotics-based treatment plan. So with what we're deciding to use, Vivitrol, it's non-addictive, non-narcotic, and it's antagonistic. Is that the correct term? It's an opioid blocker. So even if they were to use heroin or any type of opioids, alcohol, they cannot get high on it. They cannot get any type of euphoric feeling for approximately 30 days after they've received Vivitrol. So that cuts down overdoses and should help them to give them opportunity to get on the right path.
And I think that the health department and you are both agree this is a good program.
Yeah, it's definitely needed. I will say we use Suboxone. We use Suboxone at the health department. It's more affordable, and it is also not something that's going to get anybody high. So we're very focused on trying to make sure we work closely with our jail partners. I think they've put a lot of thought into this, and they are right. They're going to need some additional nursing support to be able to do this. And I believe we also have some funds budgeted for an electronic health system to help them track the data that's going to be needed for reporting to the state. So it's really a good project because I think it's something that we can build on over time, and hopefully will help with the revolving door that we sometimes see. We'll be able to get some people, to treatment, not only in jail, but also make that bridge connection over to us or another provider to continue that.
Thank you. Any questions, Michelle?
Aftercare is App Health. Are they building up their aftercare? Because I think that's a big component to recovery. I mean, you can put somebody through treatment, but you have to have the care after.
Yeah, we actually just got notice that we were awarded another HRSA grant. We're one of, I think, 160 in the nation that applied for some more competitive funds We're going to be expanding mental health services and hopefully be able to do more substance use treatment, which is, you're right. I mean, it's not a one-stop short-term thing. We got to think about long-term support. So yes, and we don't want any type of cost to be a barrier for folks. So that's another thing that our program will help make sure that we're addressing, care regardless of someone's insurance or ability to pay.
Any other questions? Michael?
So, Danielle, if we can go back to the screen, it has the three applications that came in. So that, and I apologize, my eyes don't work like they used to. 108,550, is that the number up there? So is that for 1 year? So what I just want to point out, in case there are no additional funds provided towards, because we don't know, we know that we're going to get X amount of dollars for like 38 years, but we've got a build up, basically. We've got a fund balance right now.
Right.
Board, as you see this, just keep in mind that you've heard that is a need, not only for this cycle, but in general. So once this is done, I think the anticipation and expectation is that the board would continue that program with or without any type of settlement money as well.
Yeah, but we certainly understand the cost, and I would just say, sorry, you're exactly right, that the estimated amount is there. I think what I've learned through working with them is the very important nature of having that nurse support. And so I really appreciate you adding that, because it's not just about this. It's also about, managing chronic conditions like diabetes in the jail, and making sure that they have the right medical training staff to be able to do that, and not just rely on the officers, because that's really outside of their scope of practice. If that's, am I saying that right? Yeah.
I just think it's important as you, in your budget cycles to come, to remember this, because the funding may not be there, but the need is still there. And once you increase it, it's not something that you want to go back and decrease.
Jane, do both the federal and the local prisoners get to use this program?
So yes, the marshals kind of know our situation with the nursing staff. So we generally don't get individuals that would be very rare with the federal inmates. So it would be more so for our locals. They know our situation and know that we don't have 24-hour care. So generally the ones we get are in decent health.
Any other question, Timmy?
Question for Jennifer. You'd mentioned about, I know we're talking about fixing this after it happens, or trying to work with it after it happens with these folks, but did I hear you say preventative? You was talking about a possible plan of preventative, something like proactive in the future?
Yeah, I think that's always what I'm an advocate for. One of the things that we know is right now, the funds that you all have to allocate, you have to demonstrate that you've gone through a collaborative strategic planning process with several partners for a period of time in order to open up basically a whole nother set of strategies that you can use. So what we're doing is we're starting off with this, but in the future, you'll have more options if you choose, because we will be able to document what we've done up to this point with the meetings that we've had, that you've actually done some some ground truth of what's needed in the community. So there's probably triple the amount of options available to you after you do this strategic planning process. And that's what we're supporting. And there's certainly way more prevention focused things there, which I think is a good thing, because eventually you don't want to just be pulling people out of the river, so to speak. You want to try to prevent the problem from the beginning.
Basically, we're going down the through the process of doing a step-by-step process, and then we'll have a track record of things that will give us other options for preventative care then later down the road.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Greg, any questions? Anything else, Mr. Carter? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I do want to add one thing, weather related. Just wanted to say, if folks happen to be in a situation where their well was flooded, we are offering free water testing for folks right now. If their well was damaged, we're waiving fees for well permits, repairs. Same with septic systems. So I felt like since I'm here, I better say that. We really appreciate Daniel and all the communication back with our preparedness folks. But wanted to just say that since I'm here, just in case there's folks who need that service as well.
You know, hope the newspaper got that, and be sure they can put it in that, let everybody know.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Daniel Roden.
Again.
Again.
So if you recall at the work session a while back when we were talking about radio communications, one of the potential solutions that had come up was a mobile repeater system. And I was asked middle of last week to try to get a quote from our vendor to see what it would cost to have 7 mobile repeaters purchased and installed. That would have been one for each fire department, one for the rescue squad, and one for the emergency management truck. So I think you guys have the quote in your packets. That is for 7 repeaters, 7 radios that go with that repeater, because they have to be, they have to communicate with one another, and then the installation that goes along with that. So that total quote comes out to, not including taxes, $40,591.53. I was asked to come up here and present this to you guys. So any questions that you have?
You have any luck on getting a grant?
I looked into the firehouse subs thing. It basically became impossible for me to do it for the departments because it required access to all of their financial data. And I forwarded an email to someone that got to you about, really it wasn't practical for me to do that particular grant on their behalf.
And I forwarded it to them, to the chiefs, so.
Whether or not any of them came through with it, I don't know.
It was a really tight deadline too, so I'm not sure.
Any other question, Timmy?
So I know when we had our meeting, David Hutchins, I think is his name, correct?
Michael Hutchins.
Michael. I used to know a guy named David Hutchins. But anyway, was he able to diagnose the disconnect between dispatch and the radios?
I haven't heard anything from him since. I got to follow up with him.
I had a fireman the other day that said, but did he look into it?
I don't know what he's done and what he hasn't communicated anything with me yet. So
Somebody I was speaking to this week said it seemed to be better between dispatch and the radio. So I said, I know they were talking about looking into it, but I don't know what that means.
I'll make it a point to follow up with him in the next day or two.
Anything else? Mr. Carter?
This item was requested to be placed on the agenda, so you now have the information, so it will move for consideration at your next meeting. The question is going to be, do we have it in the budget? The answer is no. The next question is going to be, well, can you find it? And as I often do, I'm going to say the possibility exists. So in between now and your next meeting, we'll see if that possibility becomes reality.
Any other questions and comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Request for bids for propane purchase for years 24 through 25. Daniel?
This is for propane for county services. This will cover the courthouse, health department, Alleghany Group Homes, New River Cottage, the law enforcement center, the animal shelter, the fairgrounds concession stand, Emerson Black Building, Wilkes Community College, the EMS building, and the maintenance garage. We're gonna short this contract. We currently have one in place, but it ends, and we're trying to get everything back on our fiscal year cycle. So this contract will run from November the 22nd of this year through June 30th of next year, and then we'll be back on cycle for being in line with our fiscal year budget stuff. And the person that currently has the contract, they knew that this was our plan when we realized we kind of missed it a little. We were a little late last year. So they're aware that that is what we were planning on doing. And when their current contract ends, I've sent it to the Alleghany News, and they, as soon as I give them the go ahead, they'll run it for Wednesday's edition, the October 30th and November 6th edition. We will accept the bids until November the 8th at 4 o'clock, and then open them at 4:01 that day. Then we'll bring it back to the board for approval at our next meeting, or the second meeting in November, sorry.
Straight to action.
Yes, and it'll go straight to action then, because we're showing you now the bid. So we'll post it, get it posted on the website today, and it'll run in the paper for 3 weeks and cover all our bases of requirements for requesting bids.
It'll be for action at our next meeting.
The
after
mid-month November meeting,
Yeah.
yes. Mhm.
that. Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. That concludes section D. Moving right along to section E, general business. These items 1 through 7 are for action. And Jennifer Green, you're back up, I think, or do we need?
Mr. Chair, this is the MOA she mentioned earlier. We've moved it already into action because there's a bit of an urgency to it. We've had to reschedule a couple times for different reasons, but the faster they can get this approved, they can start doing the rest of their process to get their funding.
Thank you, Danielle.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're moving this right along for suspending the rules, or go ahead because this is time sensitive.
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
It's just what you're talking about, Michael. If we go ahead and vote this in, they're gonna look for it every year.
It's going to be a recurring cost.
Same. Keep that in mind when you do budget next year, Bobby.
Anything else? Any other comments, questions? Need a motion in a second?
Motion to approve opioid settlement.
Second.
And any questions? Heather, you've been through this one. I think, is there a place on there for you to sign off? Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second for the opioid settlement MOA. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. You got it, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Item number 2, Alleghany County resolution for direct expenditure of opioids. Oh, wait a minute, Jennifer, you're right back up again. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We have lots of papers, thanks to the state process. So
This is the resolution. The other one was the MOA. Sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Now, wait a minute, let me be sure.
I think that's it for me.
You're finished.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's this? Travis Dalton, weather event waiver for building permit fees.
Morning, Commissioners. I was here requesting a waiver for the building permit fees for any damage due to the hurricane and the events past, the earthquake, the big ice storm we had, the tornado. The board has previously waived building permit fees for anybody that's affected and having to do work on their house due to the storm damage.
Any questions? Timmy?
So I guess my question is, so how do you, somebody comes in and it says, I need, of course, they don't need a permit, correct? They will get a permit, but it's free.
Yes, they still have to get the permit if the damage needs it. If it's just shingles, re-roof and stuff like that, it does not require a permit.
I guess my question is, you're the one that decides whether it's the past storm damage or whatever.
Normally it's, when they come in and apply for it, they're asked, was this due to the storm or not?
The reason I ask that is because, it's a reality. Sometimes people, I hate to say it, sometimes people abuse that. So as long as you're on top of that.
Yeah, we would be.
Mr. Carter?
Just think the board ought to consider setting a time frame for it. You don't want to have this to go on for a year. Travis, you got a recommendation?
I mean, most of what I'm seeing now, I mean, they're slowly trickling in, but this is not the amount of damage like the earthquake that's requiring permits. Most of it's minor to houses and stuff that don't require permits. But as insurance and FEMA's come around now, I figure we should start seeing it, but it shouldn't take, all permits should be pulled within 6 months. I wouldn't see a problem with.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we need a motion in a second to approve.
I make a motion to waive the building permit fees for this current storm damage and put in a limit on it at 6 months, correct?
Sounds good.
Second.
Got a motion in a second with that 6-month stipulation. Any questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you all.
6 months, right? David Spicer, weather event for the tipping fees.
Mr. Chairman and Board, we've had a lot of people that have inquired about us waiving the tipping fees for the amount of debris that's coming in that was caused by the storm that we had. I know that a lot of people who are getting their stuff cleaned up, they're chipping the brush and all as they clean it up. Some on the roadways is being chipped up before it actually, when it actually is cleaned up. So a lot of that's not going to come into the transfer facility. We have got a temporary permit for the old landfill that we can accept debris there because was actually out of room. They should be coming this week to start grinding on the pile that was here previously. But in addition to that, the state has, well, they're going to have several loads of stuff. It's been estimated at 1,000. I think that estimate's a little bit light. So, Farmers Fish Camp is terrible and it's going to take some time. We have there that we can fix. Now, you set a time limit for building permits. Now, we have to have this cleaned up in 6 months. So if we set a time limit on ours, I recommend it be less than that, like 4 months, to be able to get this in here. So if you choose to waive those permits or the tipping fees for that, then that's fine. But we can get reimbursement through FEMA. So we've got to keep up with the loads. We've got to keep up with the weight of the loads, and all of those things has to be taken care of, and we've got to keep good records. So, and that's already started. So we've already got the staff there is taking in consideration all these things and keeping up with the records and making sure that they document everything that comes in like that.
Questions? Go ahead, Mr. Carter.
Just for clarification, so the waiving of the fees would be for residential
Yes.
because DOT is the ones that are eligible. We can charge DOT and there's a reimbursement from FEMA. So I think don't let me put words in your mouth, but I think you're asking for the waiving of the residential for that period of time, and the proper accounting will be done either by your staff or by DOT or by whomever brings it in.
Yes. And there has been a rumor floating around, and I'd like to put an end to that right now. I was told over the weekend that we told DOT they could not bring that to our facility. That is not true. We welcome everything that comes in from anybody that brings it in. So that is not so. So if that rumor is still circulating, we've not told DOT they cannot bring their materials to us.
Any other questions? Now, have some people already residential been charged?
They have been. And that's where some of the controversy, I guess, came because we could not waive those fees without board approval.
Will they be reimbursed or?
Andy has kept up with it. I think he knows who they all are. And if we need to reimburse, we can. That's up to you
That's
as a
an
board.
option.
That's an option as a board. That's your decision.
Do we have to stipulate that in our resolution or vote?
I mean, I think that's a directive that you guys can give. I think it's important, and it goes without saying, but it must be said. As long as that debris that's been brought in was after the event. You know, we don't want people bringing it in the day of the event. Nobody was out that day, but I think there has to be a calculation.
I
on
think
that.
so too. And in past that though, I mean, we really have no way of knowing for sure. You can tell me anything. I have no tracking of that, but Mr. Carter's correct. It's got to be past. It's got to be past the event.
I think you can.
Before.
I think you can kind of tell in this instance.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the stuff.
I'd like to make a motion that we waive the tipping fees for residential till the end of February and reimburse those people who have been charged that had actual hurricane damage.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Can I ask a question before we do
Yes,
a
go
second?
ahead.
So the residential, is that any part of the FEMA thing? Is that just stuff that the county's gonna have to pay for?
I think that's probably stuff that county's going to have to pay for. I know that there is a certain amount of FEMA monies that will be available, but most of that I think is through DOT and through the state.
The thing about that, it's a little bit different because that is an enterprise. So basically, yeah. I get all this. I get this, these are times when people need to help, and I understand that. I just, if we're not careful, and I know this is an exceptional storm, but every time a storm comes through, we're going to get this at the landfill deal. Like, this should be free. The point is, it's not free because all the other people in the county that doesn't have storm damage has to pay for it. So I'm good with this, but I think if we're not careful, we're starting down a slippery slope. So I'll second it.
And I think that this exception goes along with the state of emergency, would have to be declared, to fall under this, not just an exceptional windstorm or something.
Right.
But it would have to be with state of emergency. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? David, one thing, what about if some homeowner hires a commercial company to come in and remove dead trees and limbs? Now, how does that work if how do they tell them it came from Joe Blow's yard or?
I mean, I understand what you're asking. I just think that the board should only consider it being brought in by the resident. Because if you get into commercial chippers and pruners and, you know, Big David's cutting service, I don't know how you would really be able to track that the right way.
There's a lot of trust that people are going to be telling us the truth, and we have no way of, we just hope that they'll be honest about it. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
You gonna put it
please
out
raise your hand.
residential only with the
Pardon?
residents?
Residents.
That was part of the motion.
Okay.
Yes. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
I
you.
got another question, David, while you're talking
Go
about
ahead.
that old site. Is that, I know we talked about it during the budget. Is that site past the inspection where they come and they do the inspection of the leach field? Or is it past it
It
now?
it is.
So we're clear?
We are clear.
So
We have a
don't-
permit.
Okay, so
Are you talking about the assessment monitoring?
the assessment monitor.
Oh,
No,
no, that's not part of
That's
that.
not complete yet.
When do we decide it's complete?
We won't make that decision. That will be something the state will do.
Do their evaluation?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be a different
I
thing.
mean, not for this, but for some, I thought I read someplace that the state was not requiring burning permits right now. I don't know if that has anything to do with soil and water or Eric's hiding back there, but if you know, your own property, you can burn some of this brush and these trees without a burning permit. Is that your understanding?
That's the way I read it. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, David. Item number 5, line item transfer, North Carolina cash. April,
Good morning.
morning.
Just have a couple of things from finance this morning. The first line item transfer in front of you is our escheat process. This is uncashed checks outstanding between 7/1/22 and 6/30/23. We have submitted the report to NC Cash. We just need to send the funds.
Make a motion to approve the line item transfer NC cash.
Second.
A motion in the second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you. April, you're still up.
Have one more line item transferred for this morning. This is repairs that was done to the front of the jail, the law enforcement facility. Part of the expense is going to come out of the jail budget, and the other part of the expense is going to come out of the maintenance and repair budget in Public Works.
Any questions?
What was the total bill on it?
It was a little over 21,000 for the repair.
Any other questions? If not, need a motion in a second.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you, April. Now, this was to the add-on item. Item number 7, Fire Department contract for Cherry Lane.
And that's the last thing I have to present to you is just the Cherry Lane Volunteer Fire Department, the fire services contract. We just need to approve. That's the last one to come in from the fire departments.
That'll be all of them.
That is all of them. That is correct.
Motion to approve the Cherry Lane Fire Department Fire Service Agreement.
Second.
Got a motion in a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed likewise? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank
Thank
you.
Moving right along to, county manager's comments. Mr. Carter.
I've got a few today. I'll be as brief as I can. First of all, I think as Jennifer pointed out, several of our team have on pink today in show of support for breast cancer awareness. So we certainly feel that. We tend to do some different things that at least the board needs to know, and those coming in. We've got what's been called a spirit week designated for next week. And each day of the week, employees are encouraged to wear different, I'll call them costumes. And so if anybody walks in on Monday, you're going to see people hopefully in their favorite sports team, attire. Tuesday, they're going to be a movie character. That's going to be a lot of fun. Wednesday is Decades Day. So we've got hopefully people that are going to represent different decades. Thursday is your Halloween costume. I had HR approved of that one. And Friday, Hillbilly Day. So we've got a full week next week. So if you come in and see somebody looking a little different, that's why. Next thing is I absolutely love Danielle. She didn't put anything on the agenda for me to talk about today. That was great. Then I'll get to a couple other things. Everyone in Alleghany County knows by now that my agreement with the Board of Commissioners ends on Halloween. For a while there, it was everywhere. So no surprise. Couple things that I was tasked with when I came here. One was the morale of the employees. And I believe that if you walk around, if you're engaged and you're a part of that, you'll see that the morale is improved, the developing and maturing of the staff is complete. So I mark that off my list. It's done. The next thing was the financial status of the county. I don't have to say anything more and look at your financial reports that Robin passed out to you this morning. Box check, that one's done. We've got a lot of projects going on right now that have been started. David Spicer has identified a lot of those. I had hoped to be here to see those complete. That's not going to be the case, but again, we have a complete and competent staff, so I'm sure that they'll have that in their minds. Surprisingly, for those of you that feel like that the 31st is my last day, that's not necessarily going to be the case, because board and I have worked out a little arrangement for me to hang around a little bit in November to hopefully get us be a part of getting us a new county manager hired. Hopefully that individual will hit the ground running. There's certainly a lot of things that they've got to catch up on real quick. So I'll be around a little bit. And the last thing, surprisingly to me, at the 11th hour, my wife shows up today at the meeting. And I'd actually sent her, or I called her this morning, because I read some emails over the weekend, and like Danielle's, for example, I just ignore it. I don't pay attention to it. So I didn't get the message about the pink, so I was talking about that. But here she shows up. So she's here today to support me in this meeting, and I appreciate her being here and taking time every day. Last thing I'll say is I don't know what or how John is faring and what he had going on, but certainly missed him at the meeting today. That's all I have.
I would make this little comment that behind every man, there's a great woman. And I think that sometimes is reversed, but in this case, there has to be a really great woman behind you.
I appreciate that, I think. So,
Now we move right along to comments from the commissioners and start with Michelle today.
I too would like to wish John well. I don't know what's going on, but he's okay. I want to remind everyone to go vote. Early voting's open right now. We've seen a brisk pace of people go by that door while we're in here. So be sure that you get your voice heard this year. Being the chair of the Social Services Board, I would like to bring attention to a program that has come about because of this disaster called DSNAP. And for this week only, you will be able to go, you can call into social services, you can go to the Emerson Black building and apply for a special food allotment. Now, this is only for people who are not receiving food stamps right now. This targeted audience is for people who have lost food during the hurricane because their power was out. So I think there's a possibility, don't quote my number on this, $700 and some that you can get reimbursed. You don't have to prove to anyone. There it is right there. And you can apply for this and help refill your freezer from where you lost food. So please go check that out. And also, I would like to say that I know he's still going to be here for a little while, but there's this saying of you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Everybody's going to be thinking that after he's gone, because this man has got us in great financial shape, unheard of morale from county employees, the best ever, and you've just done a lot of good things. And I think people are going to remember you fondly. You've done a lot for Alleghany County, so you will be greatly missed.
Emmy?
Yes, I just want to reemphasize the recognition of the Breast Cancer Month, and I think almost everybody sitting in this room today, there's somebody in their family or friend that's been touched by that dreadful disease, and it is always called cancer. Cancer is what I call the great equalizer. Doesn't matter what color your skin, doesn't matter what religion, what politics, anything, all across the board. It affects different people all over the world, but it's a horrible thing. But at the same time, it's great to see and acknowledge the people that's come through that and has had the strength to go through it, and families, and just wanted to reemphasize that this is a month that we recognize those folks, the survivors. And also, I didn't realize Kristen was here, so she slipped in on you. But I do want to say before, because I know she may not be here many more meetings, but I want to say from a personal standpoint I do appreciate Kristen for sharing her husband to do the good things for this county that has been done over the last 5 years, that I feel like in time, even most everybody will appreciate. But at this time, I appreciate very much, because I do know all those things that has taken place. And I do know under my time, which is a very short time, I'm more of an observer, and I know what your husband brings to this county. And I also know that we will all miss him, but at the same time, his work will live on way past his time when he retires here. But I do want to say I really appreciate that. Appreciate those, the things that I've learned a great deal from never been in county government under no circumstances, never had really thought about being, but I've learned probably as much in the last 2 years that I've learned that I'd ever learned in a lifetime, as far as what the county does, what different people do for our county, how it operates, how it's budgeted, and how I've learned a lot of that just directly from Michael, sitting in budget meetings. And it's something that I think each one of the head of departments in this county, as long as they work here in this county, I think that work, that model, that foundation that is laid for each one of y'all with y'all's help is going to carry on. Just like Michael says, like all these projects that's going on, there's a roadmap for it. We've got it. I think we have capable people in each department that will carry on, and it will last a long time. Yes, there'll be changes as new manager, there'll be a different way that person, he or she, may think about how to run the county. But we have head of departments, and I really feel confident that what you will be leaving, Michael, will carry us on into the future. Your works through the head of departments and all the departments, that will be something that this county will reap the rewards for a long time. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. Greg?
I just want to say, I hope John's okay. And us as commissioners, especially me, I don't think we realize how much you county employees, department head, and the county manager do, because I'm out of the county every day. But I want to thank every one of you a lot more than we see. Appreciate all the employees of the county and county manager, department heads.
Thank you. A few things. I think it's been touched on by the commissioners that all of our department heads and people in the departments, they went through the same storm that we all did, but they had a job to do, and they showed up to do that job, to serve the people of the county. And I think that just goes just to confirm what everybody else has said. We got a great staff, people that work for the county, believe in the county, and I think they've really, really done a great job. Next, all the outside departments, Blue Ridge Electric, DOT, Skyline Telephone, everybody, fire departments, rescue squad, they went through the same thing, but they were out doing their job, and that was for the people of the county. And I really, really appreciate that. We heard from Julia Hoke from the Farm Services that farmers need to sign up for these programs. Don't just sit back and say that it doesn't apply to me or it's not worth it. That's what the federal government, that's what we've paid our taxes for all these years, or for instances like this. So get out there and make that appointment and go through the process, and hopefully you'll get some relief. On a personal note, the health department, here in the next few weeks, I think that hopefully, if things go as planned, there's going to be a big expansion at our Alleghany Center Health Department, and that it's well needed. I use the health department, our family does. I know a lot of the county employees do. And right now, sometimes it's hard to get an appointment because people are really using the health department like they should be. So I would encourage everybody to stay in contact with the health department. They've wavered, or they've let some of the fees be dropped right now, just like the county has for some of the services. So utilize that health department. Michael, I can't say anything more about you publicly that I've already said. There's some things better unsaid, I guess, but you've been a true friend. Not only to me, but to the county. You look back at, I guess it was a perfect storm. We got the letter from the state that we were very close to being taken over. Then we got hit with the earthquake. Then now we've been hit with this storm, and you've led us through that, through the darkest hours I think this county's seen in a long, long time. So with that, I thank you. You'll be sorely missed. Is there any other comments from anybody? Heather? Daniel? You've got nothing to say?
Not this time.
April?
You forgot pandemic in that list of leading through. Pandemic hit not too long after he arrived here.
Thank you.
I'll add that.
Anything else? If not, people, be sure you vote. Here in the next little bit, we'll get this room back in order. I think Friday was a great big day or Thursday or Friday, big days for voting. So please turn out to vote. Thank you all. With that, I'll call this meeting to an end. Thank you.
Don't leave yet.
Yeah, don't leave. We have the papers to get signed real quick. Then we'll get out of Sherry's way.